Run that back. You think Deshaun Watson needs to play at a high enough level that they get Shedeur off the team? I want to circle back to Deshaun Watson. And I found this very, very interesting that someone emailed me, a listener, viewer emailed me with a theory about Deshaun Watson and what he was actually saying. Let's play the soundbite from Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson kept talking about the rest of the fan base or that fan base. Let's play that sock.
Knowing that I have teammates in our locker room that support me, knowing that I have a coaching staff that support me, knowing that I have an organization that support me. All the other stuff got to take care of itself on the field. And now it's my job to be able to show that, I'm capable of putting points on the board and getting W's. And I think that, if we can do that, then I can earn the respect and loyalty to the rest of the fan base. It was never intended to, to go at a certain person or a certain fan base or a certain crowd. It was just, this is how I feel. And, once I got it off my chest, I felt better, and now I can move forward from it.
You said earlier,
nobody saw this coming. Not the Cleveland media, not the NFL analysts sitting behind their desks, and definitely not the people who spent an entire year writing off Shedeur Sanders, because one moment on a podium just cracked open a story that Browns fans can't stop talking about. A story about fear, a story about a $230 million quarterback, and a story about a rookie who refuses to disappear. Stick around, because what's really going on in Cleveland right now is way bigger than a quarterback battle.
Get that original clip.
Last time I played on this field, I tore my Achilles. And that same fan base, they cheered when I got hurt. So does that have to do with, what does that have to do with anything about performance? When a person get hurt, especially for your own city, and they cheer.
does any of that make you regret coming here?
No, I don't regret anything in my life. I think the Lord put me through situations for a reason, so I don't regret anything at all. But I had different thoughts on how it was going to be, but it is what it is. Sometimes the tables turn, and I'm patient enough because I'm a child of God to wait for that time to change. So I'm not tripping on it.
It happened after a loss. Deshaun Watson walked up to the podium, and instead of talking about the game, he started talking about that fan base. Not the fan base, that fan base. Twice. Once after he got named starter, and once after a game with a boos rained down so loud you could feel it through the TV screen. Now here's the question nobody's asking. Who is that fan base? Because if you listen closely, Watson wasn't just venting about Cleveland in general. He was pointing at something specific, and that specific thing has a name. A viewer from Ohio sent in a theory that's now spreading like wildfire through sports talk shows across the country. His claim, Watson isn't mad at Browns fans as a whole. He's talking about what people are now calling the Shedeur cult, a group of die-hard supporters who show up for Shedeur no matter what, who back him through every start, every mistake, every setback. And according to this theory, that's exactly who was in Watson's crosshairs. Because here's the wild part. The same crowd that cheered when Watson tore his Achilles on that field months before Shedeur Sanders was even drafted is now being lumped into this so-called cult, which means one thing. This isn't really about Shedeur at all. This is about a fan base that has already made up its mind, and Watson knows it. Now think about the timeline here because it matters. Watson's first comment came right after he was named the starter, calm, measured, almost diplomatic. But the second comment, that one came raw, right off a brutal loss, with boos still echoing in the stadium. And in that second comment, he brought up something nobody expected. He referenced the exact moment he tore his Achilles and how that same crowd cheered when he went down in pain. That's not a quarterback complaining about a bad game. That's a man carrying real scar tissue, both physical and emotional, into every single press conference. And that changes how you have to look at everything that's happened since.
So every snap Watson plays, if he's not amazing, if he's not lights out, they're going to be calling for that spot as soon as the Cleveland Browns start playing home games this season. So really it's going to come down to how he does these first two games. They're both on the road, right? he does well in these first 2 road games, then the crowd, they're going to have to quiet down. But if he's just okay and the Browns aren't winning, then they're going to call for Shedeur, because why not? But the Browns have made a $200 million plus investment in Deshaun Watson. So I think it's a tricky situation. I think Deshaun's best play, if I was coaching him personally, is you need to perform in such a way that they get Shedeur out of the locker room. Just get him off the team so he's out of your way.
Run that back. You think Deshaun Watson needs to play at a high enough level that they get Shedeur off the team?
That's right.
That's a high bar, because everybody seems to be afraid of Shedeur, and this is why I believe this guy.
Now here's where things get uncomfortable, because if this theory is even partly true, it exposes something ugly. A veteran quarterback, a former #1 pick, a 3-time Pro Bowler, coming off 2 Achilles tears and a suspension, still can't win over a fan base no matter what he does. Meanwhile, a 5th-round rookie who fell out of the first round entirely has built a following so loyal, so relentless, that grown men on national radio are calling it a cult. Think about that for a second. That's not just fandom, that's a movement. And movements like that don't happen by accident. Let's rewind for a second. This isn't the first time Shedeur Sanders has been the center of a storm like this. Since the moment he slid out of the first round on draft night, cameras stayed locked on his face. Every snap, every mistake, every win. Analysts picked him apart before he even threw a single NFL pass. And yet, every single time the noise got louder, Shedeur Sanders answered with performance. 9 of 11 for 74 yards and a touchdown in one preseason outing that Watson himself couldn't match, while Watson struggled to complete half his passes in that same window. So, ask yourself this: if the numbers say one thing, but the depth chart says another, what's really driving that decision? And here's where it gets even messier. One panelist on that same broadcast said something that stopped everyone cold. He said Watson's smartest move right now isn't just to win games, it's to play well enough, fast enough, that the front office feels comfortable moving Shedeur off the roster entirely, not benching him, not managing him, moving him off the team completely. Think about how big a statement that actually is. You don't say that about a rookie who isn't a threat. You say that about a rookie who might already be the more talented quarterback, and everybody in that building knows it.
Afraid of Shedeur, and this is why I believe this guy. And I think on Saturday, I think he was talking about both groups. I think there was a comment he made, or a couple comments that he made about Shedeur deal, and then he was saying, like, I think he was not saying quite clearly, but he was saying, this crowd booed me or cheered when I got hurt. And I think he was acknowledging, like, okay, I got hurt, and there was still, in 2022, there was all this backlash over the sexual assault civil suits or whatnot. But now I think it's really about this Shedeur cult, and I actually think that Andrew Berry, I think that even Todd Monken.
Here's where it gets even more interesting. According to insiders close to the situation, there's a belief spreading inside NFL front offices that Cleveland's coaching staff isn't just managing a quarterback competition, they're managing a phenomenon. Because Shedeur Sanders doesn't just carry his own following into every locker room, he carries his father's spotlight, his family's legacy, in a media machine that reacts instantly the moment he's disrespected. One analyst on that same radio show put it bluntly. He said the pressure around Shedeur is so intense that even the front office and the head coach may be hesitant to fully commit against him. Whether or not that's true, one thing is clear. Nobody in that building is treating Shedeur Sanders like just another backup. But let's get past the noise for a second and look at the football. Shedeur Sanders was thrown into the fire as a rookie, starting games behind an offensive line that gave him almost no time to breathe. And still, in the middle of that chaos, flashes of real talent kept showing up. Sharp accuracy, poise in the pocket, the ability to extend plays with his legs without turning into a turnover machine. Coaches around the league have pointed to his dropback mechanics as some of the cleanest in his draft class. Watson, on the other hand, is still working his way back from back-to-back Achilles injuries that wiped out most of 2 seasons. So when the coaching staff finally made their call, they didn't say Shedeur wasn't good enough. They said experience and health tipped the scale for now. That's a very different statement than Shedeur isn't ready.
Yeah, the boos that he got. He kept referring to that fan base, the same fan base that booed when he got hurt. That fan base has nothing to do with the real fan base. This is according to the guy that lives in Ohio and his email. The one he's referring to is the Shedeur cult. That's who Deshaun Watson is actually talking about. That's why he said it has nothing to do with performance. Anyone who gets the nod over Shedeur will get the same hate around here. Then he talks, there's a radio host, I think his name's Garrett Bush, is pushing the cult heavy. What do you guys think? And Charles, I'll let you fire first here. What do you think of the theory that Deshaun Watson is actually saying, hey, man, people in Cleveland don't have a problem with me. It's the Shedeur cult that has a problem with me and anybody that plays in front of him.
And the moment that decision came down, the internet did not stay quiet. Shedeur's own mother stepped in publicly, reminding everyone of his explosive 4-touchdown performance from his college days, a not-so-subtle reminder that doubting her son has never worked out well for the doubters. Fans flooded social media with the same message on repeat. Give him the reps, let him cook, watch what happens. Meanwhile, other voices defended the coaching staff, saying this was purely about giving the team its best shot to win Week 1 on the road. But even those same voices admitted something important. The second Watson struggles, the calls for Shedeur will get louder than ever. This isn't over. This is just getting started. Because here's the reality nobody in that Cleveland building can escape. Watson has to go on the road and win immediately, where the pressure from that so-called cult is going to hit a boiling point nobody can control. One rocky performance, one turnover-filled quarter, one more missed opportunity. That's how it might take. And if that moment comes, all eyes turn right back to the young quarterback who's been patiently waiting for his shot. The one who keeps getting doubted, the one who keeps getting overlooked, and the one who somehow, every single time, finds a way to make people believe again. Whether you love Shedeur Sanders or you're still not sold on him, one thing is becoming impossible to ignore. Every time the league tries to write him off, he gives people another reason to believe. Every time the doubt gets louder, his following gets stronger. And every time the pressure builds on that Cleveland sideline, it's his name that keeps coming up. Because at the end of the day, this isn't really a quarterback competition anymore. It's a countdown. And Shedeur Sanders knows it better than anyone. If you believe Shedeur Sanders is about to take over Cleveland, drop a comment right now and let us know. And if this story kept you hooked from start to finish, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the moment this quarterback battle flips, you'll want to be the first to know.